And welcome to One More Thing podcast. Today I'm joined with Dr. Larry Baucom.
Good morning.
Good morning. Week 2 of Becoming More. I really enjoyed this one. Obviously, as primarily a philosopher, the notion of justice is something we have to cover in our academic studies of philosophy, humanities. But I love the way that you framed it. You started with the story of Moses and sort of the ethical dilemma of that justice presents for us. So Moses sees a Hebrew being beaten by an Egyptian, kills him, hides the body. And then he sees 2 Hebrews fighting, right? And approaches them, says, hey, don't do this. And he's called out, not necessarily for anything wrong he's done, but for his own sense of justice. Because what does the Hebrew guy say? He goes, who are you to judge us? And that's where we get. So in that story, why, the way you frame justice, why is that an important aspect to this idea of becoming more?
Well, I think if God is all just, then becoming more is to realize that I need to change categories, and God becoming all loving and the Father who cares about every aspect of my life, not the judge that I've got to go before every time I get there and pay penance. And really so many things going on that we didn't talk about. Maybe that's a good thing for one more thing.
Right.
What about the atonement theory or at-one-ment? So if God is a God of justice, then his justice has to be satisfied. So you go back to the garden, Adam and Eve sinned, and we follow this, and it's so illogical to me.
Yeah.
And we miss the greater, deeper meaning, in my opinion. But the sense of justice, that God, his justice is up, and you've got to satisfy his justice, and he's the judge. Therefore, somebody's got to die. Some blood has to be shed. Somebody's got to be punished for this failure. And if that's your spiritual understanding of justice, it's a problem. In our society, even our system of justice, I have huge question marks, because in our country, we're the most prison-heavy country in the world.
Yes.
And I think our sense of justice has put us there. Not that people should not be punished for their crimes. I think they should, but to what level? And maybe we're a little overboard in that area. And maybe some things are, other people say, oh, no, they don't go far enough. But if you want to see people change, and you want to see hearts change, and maybe the prison system is not where we're talking about that, but in our families,
yes,
to where we come to church on the week and we have that same justice mentality, and we miss out on this opportunity to experience more. And I think becoming more, my mind is open, and I realize God is not angry with me. He's not trying to condemn me. He really wants me to get my act together, and he can help me do that if I open my eyes to his love that's already filling my life so completely.
That's right on, man. That's so well put. We study these notions of justice, and you brought it out pretty emphatically on Sunday that most of the human mindset regarding our sense of justice is completely foreign to God's, and that we want retribution, revenge, retaliation even. And this, to me, when I read the teachings of Christ, it is so antithetical to that teaching. And even Paul, and I often ask people, my more conservative friends theologically, are you trying to fit Jesus into Paul, or are you trying to fit Paul into Jesus's teachings? Because I'm always trying to make Paul make sense within the framing of Christ's teaching.
Yeah, many do.
And when you read Romans 10, and it's a beautiful verse, and it says, it's God's kindness that leads us to transformation, to repentance, whatever word you fill in there. And that is like a beautiful sort of way in which you taught on Sunday, is that it's not justice. That, how did you say it? I'm trying to remember. It was amazing. Our sense of justice may change our behavior, but it is our love and grace that changes the heart.
Right.
Expound on that and what you meant by that.
Well, I think that we can all be afraid, and from fear, toe the line. So we always do what we should do because we're afraid of the consequences of not towing the line. But it's so much better to say, I don't have to see my boundaries and never go above those boundaries. I have this sense of God in my life, and realize that life is so precious and wonderful that the life I live now doesn't have anything to do with those boundaries, but I find myself within other boundaries but they're self-imposed, and they're because I love God or because He loves me.
Yeah.
I don't want to think nasty thoughts about people, not because it'll give me a heart attack. I want to because it's not the right way to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to scream at people, even though well, you can scream at them, but you touch them, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
But I think there's more, And Jesus said, the law says, but I tell you, to turn the other cheek, learn to live within your heart, learn to let the love of God transform you. So this whole concept of, justice versus transformation. Justice can keep you in check.
Yep.
But it is the love of God that creates a transformation that makes us different human beings. I'm not the same person that I was when I was 20. And I'm going to tell a story this weekend that I'm a little hesitant to tell because it shows my just terrible side. But I was in my 20s, but certain things that happened that where I know that that was part of the transformation that happened.
Yeah.
And I had to deal with that. I had to deal with it internally. And God in His loving grace, showed me, hey, look, you screwed up here.
Yeah.
But guess what? I still love you, and you have admitted your issues, and you had your come to Jesus meeting.
Yes.
And when I had that meeting, I go, yeah, I screwed that up, and I don't want to live that way.
That's right.
I don't want to be that way. I want to be that's not my best version of me.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm afraid of hell or punishment. It's because when I live my life, I want people to see the Spirit of Christ in me.
Yeah.
Why? Because He is there, and I want it to be known. Do I do that? How well do you do on that? Well, I do it better now than I used to.
Yeah.
Have I got it figured out? Better than I used to.
Yeah.
But I still have a way to go, and we're in this process, continual, malleable heart, just open to God to do what needs to be done in whatever time frame. So that's kind of a growth.
It is
transformation.
That brings so much clarity and harmony to life when you view it that way, because it applies to, at least in my opinion, it applies to every area of life. And you brought it up again in the teaching, and you've taught on this before, but with our sort of skewed sense of justice, it really is that lex talionis mentality. It's 50-50. Mm-hmm. Eye, tooth, whatever. But relationships don't work that way if they're going to be healthy. Right. I mean, unless it's going to be fear-based, where, you did this to me, I'm going to do this to you. And so we live in fear to not cross a particular line. But when the grace is abundant, and you said that relationships are doomed to fail if we have a lex talionis mentality, a 50-50. Elaborate on that again, Dr. Baucom, because I think it's important that in our relationships, whether we're talking in our marriages or with our families, if we have this 50-50 ratio, whatever is done to me, I'm going to give back equivalently. Why is that a toxic trait but yet our minds think it's a fair trait?
Yeah. I think back of the story, I had, like I said, a sister a year older and a year younger. And one of the things we were not allowed to do is do a lot of hitting or fighting in our family. Mm-hmm. It wasn't now there's occasion that you could get away with a pinch or maybe an open-handed slap on, or with the brothers, it was always a thump on the arm. You could fist something, but nowhere, you couldn't hit anywhere else. No punch in the face, no punch in the gut. You might be able to hit your arm, but my sisters, they would, my sister Sandy, you're younger than me, she'd do something. I said, Sandy, I want you to know, if you do that again, I'm not even going to pay you back to that level, but it's going to be worse. So if you want it to be worse, do that, my retaliation is going to be significantly worse.
Right.
And you see that it wasn't lex talionis. No, it was, I'm going to make you pay.
I'll one up you.
And if you go to the country of Israel, when something happens to Israel, the response is going to be immediate and it's going to be significant. It's not going to be even. It's not going to be fair. You kill one person, we're going to kill 25 or 30.
That's right.
And that's just, it's not lex talionis.
That's right.
When you get in a relationship with husband and wife, you said something, you insulted me, therefore I insult you.
Yep.
And then you insult me back, I insult you back. It's never even. And the damage that's done in those negative things, I think, is hard to repair. Sometimes it takes a period of time for that to happen. Now, on the positive side, you can say how wonderful they are, and they'll say how wonderful you are.
Yep.
So you want to live in this negative environment where it's tit for tat, or would you rather live in the positive environment? One of the things I've learned is I thank people for doing what I want them to do.
Yeah.
If I'm out of line, let's say I'm late. And I rarely am late, but if I am late, I come up and say, I don't come and say, I'm sorry I was late, because I feel like people they don't use that term appropriately.
Right.
So I say, thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
It's not normal for me to be late, and and I am apologetic.
Yeah.
But thanks for your patience with me, and thanks for understanding that I was under a lot of stress, and maybe I didn't respond to you, or maybe I ignored you,
Yeah.
or maybe when you wanted to talk, I was distracted by one of 100 things. And I bring my focus back in and say, okay, now I need to make sure that I do better, and I'm more attentive, and I'm more caring. But it's not about this. You insult me, I insult you.
Yeah.
You do this, I'll do that. We divide the trash. You bring the trash together, I take the trash out.
That's
if
right.
you don't bring the trash together, I'm not taking the trash out.
That's right.
It's not the way it works. I mean, there may be a definition of roles. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
That's why she gathers it and I take it out.
That's right.
But if something was going on, I could gather the trash, or something was going on, she could take it out.
Yeah.
But do we have to be nasty about that? The answer is no.
No.
We need to be kind and caring and helpful. And I think that's part of the transformation that's gone on in my life, is that I want to be the best version.
Yeah.
And I think when I realize the Spirit of Christ is in me,
Yeah.
it unlocks that. I'm not saying, oh, come, God, and do some great work in my life. He's already done it.
That's right.
He's already here. He already lives in
That's
me.
right.
I just need to, and we used to say this when I was a kid, Christ-like living.
Yeah.
What does that look like? It's letting the Spirit of Christ live in me and through me to, I used to say, bless me that I may bless others.
Yeah.
Now, there's time I just say, bless me.
Yeah.
Now it needs to be, I'm a channel of that love and grace to others. And it's a better place to be.
That is. And it's the simple things, like you guys. We had gumbo the other night, and Esther's very meticulous about the house and it being clean for people.
Oh yeah.
And because this is new for her, being a
Right.
pastor's wife,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and knowing those sort of social interactions that we have way more than we had when I was just a professor.
Right.
Because we're building relationships. But after everyone left, we had all these pots and pans full of gumbo stuff, and she went into the room just to kind of chill. And I just washed the dishes. Not only did I cook, but I washed the dishes. And it wasn't to use against her to say, hey, I did this, now you do this. But it was just something in me, like, let her rest. Like, this is something she's still growing into, and this is a way that I could serve her, so she
Right.
doesn't have to worry about the cleanliness of the house when she wakes up in the morning. And she was very appreciative when she woke up. She's like, you did all the dishes.
Yeah.
And so when we one up, it's not a one up to get back at, but it's a one up to ensure, like, I want to stay one up in the positive things,
Right.
And the last question I want to ask you was the last point you made, which was absolutely profound, and man, I hope everyone got this. But you said that the love of God, when we begin to open ourselves up to God's love, the grip of justice loosens. I thought that was absolutely a deeply profound statement, and I want to give you the chance to explicate that. Like, how does God's love loosen this sense of justice in our life?
Well, I think it's back again to my concept of God.
Mm-hmm.
I don't live for God because I'm afraid or because I have the rules or this is the right way to live. I live for God because His love is so transformational. Also, I begin to give everybody else a little break too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, that's up to you. It's not for me to judge where you are on your journey of becoming the best you. It's for me to encourage you, hey, be your best you. You know what it is. I don't need to tell you what the specifics are, but at the same time, model it the best I can.
That's right.
But I think when love fulfills us, then we're back to our number one value. We're a hospital, not a courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
We just choose not to judge.
Yep.
I think it's human nature though to judge.
Oh yeah.
And let's judge everything. I mean, but when we come to the point, I choose not to let that natural course, and I choose this, I think, spiritual course in my life. When that happens, I think the justice stuff kind of goes away.
Yeah.
But the love of God so fills, and that's kind of where it is.
That's awesome. And yeah, I say this all the time. We hate to be judged, but we love to judge.
Oh yeah.
And there's a sense, I get it. There's a sense of, we talk about love a lot. And I had a comment from one of our congregants who said, I just don't know if I could do that. Just don't know if I could love everybody. And I said, I don't think that's what He's calling us to do, to go out of our way to like, hey, I love you and I love you and I love you. But I think there's these moments where God brings events, opportunities in our life to to show that love. And I think that's where that love is, because we say a lot about love here, and we talk a lot about the traffic here.
Oh yeah.
So for you, how would you say to someone in closing, like, that God wants us to love everyone, but what do you say to someone who feels overwhelmed, like, I don't feel like I can do that? Like,
I'd say, can you be loving today, or are you going to be nasty today? And I think if you say, well, I can be loving today, I can't confront everyone in my life, but those whom I do, I can treat them kindly.
Yeah.
I can have the spirit, a loving spirit within me. It's not that I need to call my mother and tell her I love her, call my brother, call every different person that is in my life, and make sure we do that.
That's right.
And sometimes there's a time for that, but can you wake up today and say, I'm going to be a loving person today?
Yeah.
And just breathe in and breathe out and realize, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Don't make assumptions. Don't put them in a box.
Yeah.
And just kind of, hey, take them where they are. And what if, what we can do to help people smile? Now, this is the segue. I've traveled a lot recently. And one of the things I noticed is when people are in a crowd, and we were in Athens, a city of 5 million people, and they're walking through the streets, and it's a big shopping district and a pedestrian walkway, and I begin to notice how many people were grimacing versus how many people were smiling. and is that a judgment? Probably.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is, what does my face look like? Because I want to be sure I'm one of those guys that very minimal, I have a neutral expression. And it's okay to walk around and just kind of with a little bit of a smile. Because I saw somebody, one of the places I went, I forget, one of the big box stores, I think it was either Costco or Sam's, and I walked out and I said, hey, thanks today. And she goes, wow, what a smile. She said, and people are, I don't think we realize it. And sometimes it takes an intention to put a pleasant look on your face.
Yeah.
Rather than scowl. Maybe we have a natural scowl. But if that's the case, I want my life to convey more.
Yeah.
And if yours doesn't, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if I can model it, and you say, I like being around people who smile more, then I think we're all better off.
That's awesome.
And that's part of our teaching. It's just to help people do the little things that they already are. Just remind them, hey, smile a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't get uptight. Don't try to punish people in traffic. Just realizing if that person driving that, maybe it's your grandmother, your mother, she doesn't see it, be kind, they're blind type thing.
That's right.
And just be more loving, more caring.
If you're happy, tell your face.
If you're happy and you know it, tell your face, clap, clap. That's the old song.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too, but that's who we are.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Dr. Baucom. Thanks for the insights, man.
A pleasure.